My name is Bill Hillman. I'm the Chief Engineer for Suffolk County Department of Public Works. This is Alex Prego. He's the Assistant Chief Engineer. We have Neve Parada, Director of Traffic Safety, Craig Lavallo, Assistant Director of Traffic Safety. We're here tonight to talk about County Road 39. So everybody in this room must be a Yankee fan, right? We will have Met updates for any Met fans that are in here. Maybe we'll be done by 8 o'clock and we have an hour ride home, but maybe you guys can catch the game. We can listen to it on the radio. Okay, so agenda real quick, introductions, project location, goals, background, project tasks, timeline, size and scope of congestion, history lesson, that's my favorite, roadway capacity alternatives, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end. We've given you cards, so if you have a question, please write it down on the card, hand it in. Who are we handing it in to, Alex?
Neve and Craig are going to come up with.
You can bring them up to Neve or Craig, and you got to turn that one on. I'm trying to get out of the lights. Thank you. So you can bring the questions up. We'll collate them, make sure we're not duplicating questions, and then they'll hand them up to us, and we'll answer any written questions. So, project location, I'm sure everybody knows where County Road 39 is, just a blow up of that. Project goals, improve capacity, that's a shocker. The biggest one I think on this list is reduce congestion in downtowns. I'm sure everyone here can agree that they would like their downtowns back. And if you could eliminate congestion in the downtowns, make them more walkable, that would be a good thing. So I think that's the biggest one to take away from this. We'd love to improve the congestion in the downtowns, not just on County Road 39. Obviously, safety is a huge component, making the road standard lane widths and shoulders. That would help emergency services. Obviously, the delays impact emergency services. So a little background, and I think this is all kind of obvious stuff. This is a planning. We're in the very beginning stages of a planning project. So we're here to advise of some of the congestion issues, some of the magnitude of the congestion, some of the ideas that we have, but we're also here to listen. We would like your input. The more input we get from the community, the better off we're going to be, the better we can tailor the project to meet the goals of the community. So this presentation will be put up on a website. It's being recorded. So I think it's going to be on YouTube or the town website. I'm not exactly sure where that'll be, but I know it's being recorded and you'll be able to view it. And we'll have an email address where you can email suggestions, questions, things like that. So again, beginning of the planning stages. The project team, the 4 people, myself and everyone else I mentioned, we are the experts on County Road 39. We've been dealing with it. I've been dealing with it for 20 years. Alex is probably like 18. Neve is probably like 22. And Craig is now in his 6th year of dealing with County Road 39. I would get phone calls from Supervisor Schneiderman literally at 6 in the morning. You got to come out here and you got to help us on County Road 39. And I joined the county in '04. We widened it in '07, I think. So I was dropped right into widening County Road 39. And from there on, it's been a thorn in our side. It's been a thorn in our side for probably 40 years, but it's been a thorn in my side for 20. When we talk about travel runs, we do the travel runs. We have driven the road countless times at 4 a.m. to 9 a.m. So when I say we're experts in it, we don't just sit behind the desk. We go out, we look at the roadway, we travel the roadway. When there's a problem, we go look at it. And we know exactly what the problems are, and we have an idea of what some of the solutions are. We'll get to that. We have to do more analysis. But when I say the 4 of us are the experts, there's no one on the planet who knows more about County Road 39 than the 4 of us. So we are the experts on this roadway. Project tasks, data collection, that's huge. We'll go over that a little bit more. Concept development, that's where we need input from the community. Planning and analysis, that's where we'll put all this data and suggestions into models, computer models that will analyze all these different alternatives, and it'll basically spit out whether it works or whether it doesn't work. And then we'll come back and we'll have a conversation with the community. This works, this doesn't work, and where do we want to go? So we want to build a consensus of what works, and then what of the projects or what of the alternatives that work, where do we want to go with those? Public outreach. This is the first meeting and public outreach that we're having. We will have many more of these. You will always have an opportunity through email, through public outreach to provide input and suggestions. There will be extensive public outreach. Project timeline, real quick. We are, pointer. We are where? Fall right here. This is the meeting we're having right now. We did the analysis. We collected data all here, and we'll then start to develop alternatives here and have additional public information meetings in 2025. So what's some of the data we collected? We did traffic, 24-hour, 7-day-a-week traffic counts. We did turning movement counts at intersections. We did field observations all along the corridor. We did travel time runs where we get in the car and we start at one end and travel all the way across, and we collect, how long it took us to do that. We'll get into that a little bit more later as well. Origin destination, which is essentially figuring out where people are going once they cross the canal. There's only 2 points to cross the canal, as you all know, Montauk Highway and Sunrise Highway. So it's perfect. It's textbook traffic engineering. You collect the data of who's crossing the canal and where are they going. And you can do that via, it's really, with technology, it's fantastic through, Google and the little Google Waze, that kind of stuff is, all that data is available to us, and it's really fantastic. So in the summer of 24, in the AM, so this is speeds. So interesting. So you look at the red is slow moving, and so slow moving red, faster green. So you can see Sunrise Highway, here's the canal. Sunrise Highway is all red, and then when you get to County Road 39, it starts to turn to yellow. So we'll discuss that a little later, but the congestion is generally on Sunrise Highway. In the PM, it's reversed. Oh, hang on, my bad. Operator error. So on County Road, in the PM, you have all the red on County Road 39, and then it opens up and goes out onto Sunrise Highway. So this is that origin destination I was telling you about. Right now, the data we're showing has, this adds, if you add all this up, it's 54%. So 54% of the traffic coming across the canal and on County Road 39 are destined for the north side or the center of this fork, okay? And that means about 46% is destined for the south shore of the fork. And you can't figure out how to fix things unless you know where people are going. All right, so this kind of information is huge. Land use, while it's extremely helpful, it's more helpful for the planners, but it does help to identify future trends and where people may want to go as things get developed in the future. So we collected all kinds of land use data. Employment data as well. The interesting thing here is, and it's again not a shocker, 85% of the workers drive to the South Fork. And what is that telling us? It's telling us that mass transit really probably isn't a solution. I'm sure you've seen this in your own experience. Truck traffic has increased dramatically. It's now 8% of the total traffic is truck traffic. So now that we have all this data, what are we going to do with it? We have all kinds of different models that we utilize to evaluate alternatives. And so there's something called VISM, Synchro. There's a New York best practice model. So we take all this data, we put it into these models. First, what we do is we have the models and we correlate them to existing conditions. And once the model actually looks like the existing conditions, so if there's a queue from an intersection and it's 150 feet from the signal, when the model is representing that same queue of 150 feet, we know we got it right. So we make sure the existing condition model is correct. And then we take it and we put the proposed data in. What if we did this? What if we added a lane? What if we put a roundabout there? What if we put a bridge there? And now that we have the model correlated properly, that model can tell us what the future might look like, what the alternatives might look like. So travel times. We've done travel times in 2015, 2016, 2022. These were all when the flashing operations occurred. And extremely interesting, which was a shock to us. And every time we got the same result, the travel times increased when the traffic signals went on flash. And no one believes us, but we did it 3 times, and it had the same exact result. It was the first time it was interesting to us, and then we kind of realized that the cones and the flashing lights kind of distracted people. That's what we're surmising. In the mornings in particular, there's not a lot of green time on the side streets. You got mostly green on County Road 39, and the cones were actually distracting people, and they would slow down. So 2024 travel times increased 30% as compared to 2022. That's a huge, huge statement as well. Congestion is getting longer. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But so the PM, hang on, the PM is from 2:30 to 8:30 now. And when we used to call it a rush hour, it's not a rush hour anymore. It's a rush 6 hours. So here's where I'm going to get a little geeky and talk traffic engineering. But the things that we're seeing are complete textbook from what we learned in school. It's amazing. So there's theoretical capacities of roadways, and there's roadway types. So there's a freeway, which is Sunrise Highway, and then there's a multi-lane highway, which is County Road 39. The theoretical capacity of a lane on a freeway is 2,200 vehicles per hour. The theoretical capacity of a multi-lane highway is 1,200 vehicles per hour. Each Sunrise Highway and County Road 39 have 2 lanes. So Sunrise Highway can handle 4,400 vehicles per hour. County Road 39 can handle 2,400 vehicles per hour. We do traffic counts. What do they yield? Well, there's about 3,000 vehicles on Sunrise Highway, and there's about 2,250 vehicles on County Road 39. Now, it's interesting that once you hit your capacity, that 2,400 is actually the maximum capacity. And then once it fails, it actually goes down. So this is, again, completely textbook. So what is that telling us? There's too many vehicles on Sunrise Highway coming into County Road 39. County Road 39 just can't handle the volume. Okay? So we looked at this a little further, and we said, all right, if there's 3,000 vehicles on Sunrise Highway, and we used a very conservative number, this should really be 1,000. However, we said if we added a 3rd lane to County Road 39, and what's going to happen is the people who couldn't get to County Road 39 are now going to come there because we added a 3rd lane. So you're going to draw people in We used a low number, 550. So we're going to have 3,550 vehicles now on County Road 39. And you have to figure growth as years go by, traffic grows. And we calculated that we would have 4,320 vehicles per hour on County Road 39 if we added a third lane. Well, the capacity is only 3,600 vehicles per hour. So we came to the conclusion that if you add a third lane to County Road 39, it doesn't work. Does not work. That will not solve the problem. And I think most people think that add a roundabout, add a new traffic signal, those are the types of solutions that we're talking about. They're not. Even adding a third lane doesn't work. Okay, initial traffic findings. Again, from 2013 to 2023, the traffic increased 20%, which is a huge number. That's over 2% growth per year. So the traffic peak hours, again, AM is 5 hours, PM is 6 hours. Those are huge numbers. These are huge problems that we're facing. It's not simple solutions. When you have a peak hour of 6 hours from 2:30 to 8:30, that's huge. We don't see this. I mean, we see this in New York City. We don't see it, anywhere else really. A 6-hour peak period. Initial traffic analysis findings: 60% of the traffic is going to points east of County Road 39. Again, 85% of the workers are driving. Crashes, they worsen everything. Every time there's a crash, again, I don't have to tell you that. Makes everything horrible. You get a crash and can't move anywhere. Obviously, emergency service is affected. All right, one of my favorite slides. So 1969, New York State approved $160 million. Think of that number, $160 million in 1969. It's a huge amount of money to extend Sunrise Highway. In 1970, the town performed their first master plan. In 1972, the community opposed the extension of Sunrise Highway. In 1974, the governor canceled the Sunrise Highway extension. That $160 million went bye-bye. 1984, New York State DOT did a South Fork transportation study. In 1986, the East End Transportation Council came into being, and they did a sustainable East End development called SEED. In 1999, Southampton Town did another comprehensive plan. In 2000, there was a transportation advisory task force that was created. In 2001, there was a Southampton intermodal transportation study. In 2005, there was a presentation given to the Regional Transportation Summit. 2009, there was a follow-up on that, on public transportation. So from 1969, when the problem was identified, to 2008, they studied it. Nothing was done. In 2008, Suffolk County widened. We had our first widening project, and then in 2013, we had our second widening project. So in 2024, here we stand. What are we going to do? We're going to study it. We're going to fix it. Another favorite slide. So that 1984 study that was done by New York State DOT came to the same conclusions we're going to come to today. I can guarantee it. So the solutions to the transportation problem on the South Fork cannot be confined or limited to only east-west roadways or just the state system. The situation must be viewed from an area-wide and system-wide perspective. Okay, viable alternatives include construction of a village bypass. Remember how we talked about everybody wants their village back? Well, in 1984, it was the same discussion. New road in place of Long Island Railroad. new road north of the Long Island Railroad. Combination of roadway improvements, alternate routing, and transit improvements. Okay, this was 1984. Nothing was done since 1984. Nothing, except the county widening County Road 39 twice. Oh, sorry, my favorite one. The study concluded it was not possible at this time to build a consensus on the South Fork community which would lead to a constructible transportation solution. And for 20 years, I've heard that. That doesn't fit with the character of our community. That won't work on the East End. 1984, we had the same problems, and they've gotten a lot worse. And here we go, things we've heard. County Road 39 is the gateway to the East End. Yeah, that's a nice, pretty picture. When it's stacked with traffic, it's not such a pretty picture, though. Those solutions don't fit the character of the community. So what does the future look like? I don't know. You need to tell us. We're not here to tell you. You're here to tell us. We're here to tell you what works and what doesn't work as traffic engineers. But you, the community, need to tell us what you want us to do. Without the support of the community, we don't get the support of the elected officials. Without the elected officials, we don't get the funding. Simple, real simple. Okay? So the community needs to come together and figure this out. This isn't Democrats, this isn't Republicans, this is the community. You know, we get into all kinds of craziness with politics these days, and people get, you know, sidetracked with trying to pit elected officials against each other on issues like this. And the community is part of that. So if that's where you want this to go, just follow the normal path, and we'll have people, you know, accusing Democrats that they like roundabouts, and all of a sudden roundabouts become a bad thing. Or somebody's going to accuse Republicans of liking bridges, and all of a sudden bridges are a bad thing. It's ridiculous. It's a bridge, it's a roundabout, it's not a political issue. Oh, my last one. I love these. You can't be everything to everyone. I love that quote. Okay, so these are things that we know won't work. We talked about a few of them already. Roundabouts, jug handles, especially with 2 lanes. Anything with 2 lanes existing, not gonna work. I'll put a roundabout at David White's, that'll fix everything. No, it won't. 3-lane alternatives, we already talked about that as well. Add a 3rd lane, it's still not gonna work. Doesn't work. 3-lane alternatives that start to enter into the conversation of possibility of working. Do a 3 lanes with flyovers and reversible lanes, okay? Where you can actually in the morning send the traffic, add a lane, you know, an additional lane in the eastbound direction. And in the afternoon, you'd add an additional lane in the westbound direction. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, so that's the magnitude of what we're talking about. So again, jug handles, roundabouts with 3 lanes, these kind of solutions, really not gonna work. Flyovers, side street flyovers, that's what this is, a side street flyover. Not really gonna, unless you have additional, this could be part of the solution, but it's not gonna be on its own a solution. Again, a different type of flyover on County Road 39. So here's the, you know, County Road 39 flying over this intersection, so there would be a bridge. This is a rendering of that. So we have reversible lanes. So the previous one was an express lane, essentially. This would become some sort of express lane. Now this is a concept where it's reversible. So you would make this eastbound in the PM and westbound in the eastbound in the AM and westbound in the PM. But again, oh, shoot, my bad. You have a flyover. I agree with the position that it doesn't fit with the character of the community. There's no bridges like that on the South Fork. 100% agree. But it still doesn't discount the fact that you need this. It's the only thing that's going to help you. So, love this one. My commissioner loves this one. Elevated express lane. So if we were to widen County Road 39, we're going to have to do massive property acquisitions and change the character of the community in a big way. Probably put some businesses some properties out of business because they'd be too close to the new roadway. So there would be huge changes there. This would lessen that. So if you essentially ran, an elevated roadway down the center, you could lessen the property acquisition, lessen the impact to those businesses, and still, now I'm not envisioning 4 lanes. We just pulled this off the internet and threw it on here to give you an idea of what we're talking about. It would probably be something smaller than that, but this is just to give you an idea of what it would look like. And that is definitely not in the character of the community. But it's a solution that would work. And it's hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Bypass routes. So, we have a lot of downtowns that are affected right now. Hampton Bays, Southampton, Watermill, Bridgehampton, Wainscott, East Hampton. I'm sure you guys could even name more. To get those downtowns back, you have one roadway, and it runs right through those downtowns. The only way to get those downtowns back is to do a bypass road of some sort, somewhere. Where that is, again, we need input from the community. We need you to tell us, we need the community to come to a consensus. You're not going to agree 100% where it should be. We don't expect that. But we need to get some sort of consensus on where that alternative route may be best placed. And then we can maybe build it. So here's some ideas. There's existing alternative routes right now, which Shrubland to Noyak, okay? Maybe that is improved. Maybe there's some other roadway that is constructed in the center of this fork, okay? There's what is that, magenta? No, that's not magenta. What color is that? Teal, that's the color, thank you. So 39 to 52, and then there's a LIPA right-of-way that we might be able to take advantage of, all right? And then you have the Long Island Railroad right-of-way, which is the purple. So, there are options for alternative roadways. However, we need to get to those start points. So, we might have to improve County Road 39. Say the LIPA right-of-way is the one that's selected, all right? We have to get to this point of the LIPA right-of-way. So we have to improve County Road 39 and 52 potentially to get to that point. And then there'd be an alternative road. So that's kind of the thoughts there. So what are we going to do with this opportunity? In 1975, again, we had the Sunrise Highway was canceled. In 1984, we had the South Fork Transportation Study. It concluded that no consensus could be built. 1996 to 2005, there were multiple other studies. 2008 and 11, widened County Road 39. In 2024, here we are. This will be a regionally significant, transformative project. And everyone needs to think of it in those terms. It's going to transform the South Fork because the conditions that you're in right now require it. Okay? We don't want to do it. We're not doing it just because we feel like building a huge project. the conditions require this type of improvement. The do-nothing alternative, quite honestly, is probably where I think we're going to end up. I hope we don't, but I've been doing this 20 years. I've been talking to this community for 20 years, and I don't know that everyone can galvanize and come together. That's why I'm being so blunt, and I'm encouraging you to do so, because it's the only way to fix this. But the do-nothing alternative, it's a real thing, and live with the congestion. Cape Cod does it. I mean, if anybody's been up there, it's very similar. There's 2 or maybe it's 3 crossings of a canal, very similar to the situation we have here, and they deal with the congestion. They have no plans, I don't think, to widen. So it happens, and if that's where we end up, that's where we end up. But it's going to be the community who pushes this project forward. We can give you guidance, we can give you alternatives, but the community has to take hold of it and say, this is what we want. If you want it, we'll build it. If you don't want it, we'll not build it. All right. So Alex will take any questions that we have. I'll turn it over to him. So we have a project email up here. Please take that down. Take a picture of it if you have your phones. We have a project website where we will put up information. We will have this presentation on there. If we get a copy of the video, we can maybe put the video on there as well. So we look forward to continuing the conversation. And again, I'll turn it over to Alex to answer any questions.
Thank you, Bill. Great job. For comments and questions, we have Neve and Craig and some of our other project team kind of going around collecting some of the written comments. If you have any more, please write them down. Then they're going to consolidate those so that we can kind of respect everyone's time. Probably a lot of the same questions and comments. Any comment we don't read aloud today or question, we will be taking that in. We will take the hard copies, or again, if you have something later on, you want to email us at that CR39study@suffolkcountiny.ny.gov. We'll take those in as well. And that's really what we're looking for, as Bill said. We're looking for input, we're looking for comments on what types of things you think we should be looking at beyond some of the things we've already discussed. So that's an important thing. Project website is there. That project website, it will have a link to the video probably in about a week or so. It's going to take about a week to get that going, and a copy of the presentation. And over time, you're going to see right now the website is relatively small, but over a very quick period of time, it's going to get very robust very quickly, and we'll be updating that. We are expecting to come out to the public again as we move forward, at least once, probably a couple times next year, talking about some of our analysis and some of the feedback that we've gotten. So with that, again, we take some questions or comments. Neve, do you have any? No. We're looking for written comments. Neve is consolidating all those for us. Thank you.
All right. I've got a couple here. First one, project goals should be safety. If it's not safety, it is not safe for drivers currently.
Absolutely. So safety goes hand in hand with everything we do. Safety clearly impacts capacity as well. We all know when there's an accident on County Road 39, what that does to capacity. Safety is first and foremost, but it plays hand in hand with capacity, because a road that you can't drive on and it's not safe is not where any of us want to be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She basically, she entered the entering exit. Long Island Railroad needs to be more robust.
Long Island Road, we know plays into this. We did see on that slide that the percentage using Long Island Railroad is not a very high percentage in terms of the workers. Pushing for more railroad service, I think, is a good thing. However, how many workers in the morning and in the afternoons are going to get on there really depends upon a lot of things of, how close their work is to the railroad station. It's always those last miles that get in the way of that. Obviously, your trade parade doesn't play well into that as well, too. But a more robust railroad service has been pushed by electeds for many years, and I don't see that not being pushed further along. Again, I think that's going to help, but when we look at 20% traffic growth in the last 10 years, what does that look like moving forward? Again, railroad service, I think, has a part to play, but I don't see that necessarily kind of, as they would say, bend the curve on that too much.
We got another comment on difficulty crossing the roadway. What are we going to do for bike riders and people who are trying to walk along the community and, again, slowing traffic?
Pedestrian and bicycle accessibility is a great question, and we are going to try to incorporate that into all the things we look, just like we are with safety and congestion.
Another comment regarding Long Island Railroad and using freighting for trucks. I think you covered that earlier.
Right, and I think that's probably talking a little bit more about, versus the trade parade, probably a little more about some of your, basically instead of trucking material, trucking groceries, trucking, all the different things that is needed on the East End, utilizing the train for freight service. It's a great question. How that plays in, we'll find out. Or great comment, I should say.
And then this one said, since about 50% of the traffic goes to the North Fork, we should create a bypass diverting traffic to the North Fork.
Right. So exactly where that bypass road that we're talking about, what makes the most sense, that plays into the origin destination work that we've done a lot. So what happens now is people want to go somewhere, but they take all kinds of different routes to get to where they want to go. So our origin destination tells us not necessarily the way they're getting there, but where do they want to end up? And that's what's going to drive our decision making in terms of what makes the most sense in terms of bypass roadway on the north end, on the south end, in the middle, where that all plays out to best utilize that. And that's really where the data kind of drives us.
A question related to, do we have accident data? If you want to speak to what we gather.
Yes, so we have, is it 3 years of accident data? Okay. 3 years of accident data. The accident history is the best predictor of accident future. And where those hot spots are is absolutely part of what we're looking at. What are those hot spots, what type of accidents they are, and how could they be corrected or not? Accident types, you have things like rear end accidents are one accident type. You see them a lot at signals, a lot at stop signs. You have right angle accidents. Those are accidents you see where people T-bone each other, as we would say. And those have different ways to try to mitigate those. So depending upon the accident type, there's different ways that we need to look at those things. So we're looking at accident trends, not just raw numbers.
I have a comment here regarding the intersection of Shrubland Road, difficulty getting in and out, request for a traffic signal, or some other kind of an improvement.
Absolutely. We know that's a challenging intersection at Shrubland. What that looks like, again, we're going to be looking at this whole thing. What's going to happen there? What's happening at Tuckahoe Road? What's happening at Tuckahoe Lane? What's happening at Shrubland? What's happening at McGee? Absolutely, absolutely. But again, to make any, as Bill was saying, to make any significant improvement to this roadway, the road's going to change. To change the road, we have to change the road. So what exactly that looks like, I don't know. But those accidents and that access, we will be looking very hard at that. I can answer that. So this is a county road. So right now we're the lead on this project. Funding is a great point. Bill earlier talked about getting the local residents involved and the local elected officials involved in terms of funding. But a major part of the funding for us is we have to prove that the dollars spent will make a manageable and significant impact. They will not pay for something that we cannot prove will work. And that's a very, very important part as we move forward over the next year or so. What we want data has to show that it makes an improvement or it will not get funded. Even if we want it, it will not get funded. And the things we're talking about are very expensive.
Just some comments here. Video enforcement is a necessity. Stop development, controlling access with curb cuts, and most accidents occur on 39, not on New York 27.
So we'll talk about land use for a second. So when we talk about capacity of the roadway, we're talking about how many vehicles can be on the roadway. When we talk about that, the other half is demand, how many people want to be on that roadway. So moving forward, the land use decisions made in Southampton and East Hampton are very important, because if you start allowing more building, you're going to be drawing more traffic, which just exasperates the problems that we've seen for generations now. So land use, some of the recommendations of our study will be to the towns, East Hampton and Southampton, to some of the kind of land use decisions will help manage the growth moving forward on this road. What was the first part of that question, Neve? I'm sorry, there was...
Video enforcement.
Video enforcement. So automated enforcement, we know has a lot of challenges. And they would require state legislation for that type of issues. And we've been through automated enforcement, and it comes with its own set of problems and obstacles and opposition.
And basically, I have a comment here talking about looking at development, pushing development out east if we improve the section of the roadway. Yeah,
and that plays into the if you build it, there will come scenario, and there is some legitimacy to that as well, which is why managing the growth, even while we're making these highway improvements or bypass roads or whatever we're doing, managing the growth is super important. Because if you just build, after we build the lanes, and you just build more and more and more, that capacity improvement goes away very, very quickly. And we've seen that over the last 20, 30 years.
Question here on how long this project would take to come to fruition and solutions we need now.
So the timeline on this it's a great question. What's the timeline? Well, frankly, depends on how quickly we can get to some kind of consensus. So the plan right now is we're going to be taking this input today, taking it on the email site over the next few months. We're going to be doing a lot of analyses and then coming back to the public with the results of some of those analyses. I'm expecting the next meeting we'll probably have more things to look at and have a little back and forth on that. Now the question becomes, how quickly can we, if we can, form some level of consensus, which then generates constructing and designing projects. So given the timeline, it's really dependent upon how quickly we can build consensus. I can't tell you how long it's going to take to design and build something until I know what that is. So we're very, very early in the process. So I really can't give you timelines. I can't even give you costs. I just know it's going to be expensive. Yeah, years. It's years. Yeah, thank you.
And why can't we build a extend the multi-lane highway out to East Hampton? So maybe speak to the roadways we're going to be looking at.
Right. Why can't we expand County Road 39 instead of ending at Montauk Highway? Why couldn't we extend it further east? And I think some of the slides we saw earlier about some of these bypass roadways, whether it's LIPA right-of-way, whether it's Long Island Railroad right-of-way, whether it's something else, that plays very well into that, exactly how we tee off and what that looks like. We're going to let that origin destination work kind of drive that ship.
So I pretty much went through all the comments we got.
Oh, okay.
Don't know.
Is there any follow-ups on some of those earlier comments? And again, anything that we haven't covered already, anything new? Right now it's 35 miles per hour. Don't really have a good answer for that. I'm an engineer, not law enforcement, so it's hard for me to answer that question.
Can you
but-
just repeat the question? Because we didn't
Oh, I'm
hear
sorry.
what
The
you asked.
question was,
Sorry.
what is the speed limit on County Road 39, which is 35 miles per hour? The follow-up question to that was, why is it not being enforced? And I said, that's hard for me to answer. I'm an engineer. I'm not law enforcement, but I know our law enforcement can't be everywhere all the time. It's very challenging to enforce speed limits. Sir, you had a question?
Should have enough space for them to unload on their property. That's number one. Number two, trucks should be made to keep to the right. Too many trucks are in the left lane and all the cars are scooting around them. The other thing is out here, I know back in the day in Florida, they had smart traffic lights, they had video cameras, and the light would change when there was no traffic. Just coming here tonight, I had to wait at the intersection of 39 and 27. There were no cars coming at me on 39, but the traffic was backed up on 27 to wait to get through that light. So I would think that smart lights might be another alternative. Lastly, I think we really have to concentrate on safety. There was an article in last week's Southampton Press about the people up on Greenfield. They can't get out of their development. They can't get on the highway. I really don't give a damn how long it takes Mr. and Mrs. McMansion to get to their house. But I care about the year-round residents who live on Greenfield and other streets that should be able to get onto the highway and cross the highway safely. You go to Center Reach and Selden, there's a traffic light every couple hundred feet, but yet, for some reason, that traffic moves. Here it doesn't. I don't know why. I'm not an engineer. That's up for you to figure out. But I just feel there are certain small steps that could be made to make the road a little bit safer.
Thank you. We're taking notes here, but if you want to also email that so we can make sure we really get that, that would be great. But we are taking notes tonight, so emailing it is really great because that way we have it, on the project record, and we can make sure we incorporate all of your comments and suggestions. So thank you. Yes.
Presented about the traffic looking like it's going north, like up through North Sea and on Noyak. I think that's faulty because of the fact that people know that they can get to East Hampton quicker by going that way instead of staying on Route 27. That's number one. So I'm not sure that that's accurate in terms of destination. The other thing is, in terms of being able to enforce traffic on County Road 39, they can't pull you over because there's no shoulder to do that. And my third comment is that you presented to us a year or so ago about this sidewalk plan that you had for County Road 39, and I'm wondering, I think that's what some of us thought we were coming to hear tonight. So I'm hoping that that's gone out the window, but I'd like to know if it is.
Sure. So I'll answer the first question, which you had comment, which was the origin destination. That actually doesn't look at the route. That's the endpoint. Because I think you make a really good point that people find their ways around. That's actually looking at the endpoint. So we were a little surprised how much was up there as well, too. So, but that was a great point. And right now, that sidewalk project is not moving forward. So just to put that to bed. So thank you.
Yeah, what is the end state that you see as the optimal, not the solution, but what is the result? Because we're not going to have fewer people out east. We're only going to have more people. And the traffic is a self-limiting means of keeping development down rather than legislation.
Well, and I think that falls into what Bill was describing earlier. We may not be able to form consensus, just like they have not been able to in the past. And to do nothing is a possibility. I'm not gonna say that. And if the answer is this traffic minimizes growth, and that's what we want, well, okay, but then we all have to live with that. So that is, in my opinion, an opinion that is not unreasonable. It just comes with a lot of baggage. I mean, just that he was.
Hi, thank you. One thing that was not brought up in this meeting, you're really concerned about going from east to west and then in the opposite. A lot of what I face as challenges and what the gentleman's speaking about is just trying to go north-south and back. It's a real problem when you start talking about we need to help the community because it's split right down the middle, 12 to 14 hours a day. So that's the first comment I was going to make, is that any solution that you have really needs to talk about how you advocate for that and help it. The second thing is these large structures that you're suggesting, one of the greatest impositions of this roadway, not only in the vehicles and the transportation and the circulation, is the noise. The ability for you to sit and enjoy your property quietly, and all of us who live here, is, I don't know how much time you've spent in any of the ponds or on the offsides. It's nearly impossible to sit outside and enjoy it. So raising this up and trying to control noise is going to be impossible. So those are more just comments rather than just, written questions.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the comments, and again, very valuable, and I understand everything you're saying. So, I'm just going to take a few more questions, just a few more.
Okay, great. Well, first, I'd like to, as I've been rambling a little bit, I'd like to thank you for what you've done tonight in terms of communicating to us. So thank you for your time and energy. Appreciate what you've done thus far, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future. The last thing I would ask is, I've heard a lot of rumors with regard to a toll system that might be implemented to try to curtail some of the inbound traffic. Can you provide any insight as to what you guys have learned or done or investigated with regard to a toll system that might help preclude so many people from coming out here?
It's a great question. I've heard rumblings of that over the way, maybe not recently, but a year or so ago. Realistically, I don't see how that happens. That would be quite a legislative obstacle in terms of the politics involved and how we get there. It's a good question, but it's not really something that we so far have really looked at heavily. It hasn't really been something that we've seen a lot of people looking for. It's been mentioned, but I haven't really had a big push for that just yet. But again, as the comments come in, if that is a recurrent comment that people would like something like that, well, then we would have to look into that a little further, and either that has legs or it really just kind of doesn't go much further than that. So it's something I have heard of in the past, but I haven't had a lot of emphasis behind it.
I had one question here on elevated roadways and how we would handle emergency services.
That's a great question, and how we design the elevated roadways, how we design the roads underneath. There's an accident up on the elevated roadway. How is that accident being, whether it's a medical emergency, whether it's an accident, how are emergency services getting to those accidents? Absolutely. That's a great question, and we need to work on that, 100%.
I have two questions, or one question with two parts. My observation, which is strictly personal, is that when we come off County Road 39, we squeeze down off the highway. We squeeze down onto County Road 39. And then when we get to where the diner was, everything squeezes down to one lane. That is the problem.
Thank you. We'll take 3 more questions or comments.
That kind of ties into the question I have. Are you guys communicating with state engineers as far as for the eastern points of County Road 39 to kind of work together?
We will be talking to them, but I think a lot of it plays into what Bill was describing earlier is I don't think anybody wants a lot more traffic on those roadways through those downtowns, because if anything, we want those downtowns back. So that's where the bypass road would really help both of those comments, is peeling people off so that if they don't want to be in that downtown, they don't have to be in that downtown. So that people who want to be there can be there, and the people who want to go further points east or north don't need to travel through that area. And that's really, I think that's going to be a major factor and a really serious thing that we look at, because I think that checks off a lot of boxes.
So the trade-off is that in order to save the downtowns, Watermill, Bridgehampton going out on 27, is you're going to destroy the residential areas that are in the northern area going through North Sea. I'm just saying, that's the fact.
We're going to give you suggestions.
Yep,
We're
that-
going to lay out the options. And again, we're going to all see what comes out of it. I'm not going to say we have to do this. That's not what I'm here to do.
I
It's
understand.
not what I'm going to do next year. I'm going to give options that work in terms of the traffic, and the chips fall where they may. So, because I understand what you're saying. We get it. I do get the character of the community. I mean, we get that. Yeah, absolutely.
I live in Tuckahoe, and to get in and out of our neighborhoods is, you don't go out at night because you can't get out. And my concern is the McGee Street intersection with County Road 39. That, I don't want to wait years. That needs to be made more efficient, that light system. They're trying to put a pool in that area, and they had to do a study, the people who are doing the pool, for that intersection. And there was 4 ideas of what could happen. And if anything affected the timing of the traffic on the county road, you can't do it. The county refuses to change any of the times of the lights. And that means that's why our neighborhoods are being backed up. I can go on forever what needs to be done at that intersection, because I travel it every day, going south to north, north to south, like the other gentleman said. And the left-hand turn going west, if you're coming from the south, it lets 5 cars through. And they're all backed up all the way down Moses Lane, down Pelham to North Sea Road, over the railroad tracks. I don't want to wait years for something to change on that intersection. I can't. I can't believe it hasn't been addressed, even to just make it more efficient.
Thank you. We take one more question and comment in the back, and then I think we'll be ready to wrap up. And again, when we're finished off, any additional comments that we have or anything you want to elaborate on that you spoke about today with times of day or anything like that, definitely please email us, because that is very helpful, that level of detail. So,
Okay, one solution I would propose, or, say, what about a bridge over the Shinnecock Inlet? We got to get another crossing over a body of water here. I know it's a sensitive area, but we got to move the traffic. If you don't move the traffic, east and west, north and south, it's all affected. No one's ever talked about that.
thank you. All right, well, I want to thank everybody for their time today. I really appreciate it. So thank you very much, and we'll be hearing from us, and we'll be hearing from you. So thank you.